This short training on why sales in 2026 look a bit different. And I think in a good way, especially if you are someone who is drawn to make a difference that you work. I think it's a really positive move forward. So today we're talking about why sales in 2026 are built on connection, trust, and real human relationships. I believe that this is even more important now we have this world of artificial intelligence. Oh, wait a minute, I always drop, I've got a story I want to tell, but I'm going to just introduce myself. My name is Emma Sidney. I am a business designer and I help course creators create courses, especially those who are on a mission to make a difference. I am a mom to a nearly 5-year-old when I'm recording this, and I know what it's like to be time poor, and everything I do and the way I set it up is to help you to implement, to help you to move forward and have that momentum. My background is being an internal auditor, so I know a lot about loads of different things about being in business strategy, everything, but quite in a corporate way. And one of the things I've done is pull it all together in a way that is more related to the person who is on a mission. I have had 3 businesses in my life. So when I was younger, I went through a lot of mental health challenges and I was massively overweight, went on a massive personal development journey. One of the ways that I supported myself was to get more creative and started to do jewelry and things like that and sold it because I created so much. So that was my little first foray, if you like, my hobby business. And then as things developed, I trained in neuro-linguistic programming and timeline therapy and started to develop a business as a nutritional life coach. At that time, I was still working as an internal auditor, so I got into creating courses and programs because they are a great way of reaching more people whilst also recognizing that you've got a lot on. That doesn't mean that you don't have to do one-to-one, and that's why it's so important to balance all of this, I will say. And to Devon 10 years ago, I got a bit fed up with what I was doing and started to develop in a different direction. And I've been working on what that looks like especially over the last 6 to 12 months as Ember has gone to school. And yeah, I am where I am right now as our business designer, pulling it all together. So hopefully it's going to the new screen. So I do believe sales have changed. And the story I was going to tell is when I was at university, I studied media studies for my undergraduate degree. And it was just as the internet was coming into the world. And one of the essays I wrote was around the idea that with the advent of the internet, we would just become a society of people who sat in a room and just talked via a screen, which is kind of ironic because that's what I'm doing right now. However, my argument when I looked at this and I looked into the psychology and I did all my research was that we would always need real human connection. Now, roll forward to where we're at now. We have a very busy internet. You could never have even imagined what it would have been like. We've got the rise of artificial intelligence. However, I would still argue that that real human connection is very valid. One of the differences I would say is that real human connection can come across on the internet. We can build it in through things like this, through things like connecting via things like Zoom or Google Meet, and also by bringing real world things into our business and into our lives. We can run real world courses and real world workshops. And we can also, as I say, I believe one of the things and the benefits of bringing video into our businesses is that's one way of creating that connection. Because, like I say in this slide, sales have changed. It is a time where people are more selective. We need to be more on point with our messaging, with who we're helping, with where we're going. Now, I completely understand. I am a multi-passionate and I have been working on this stuff and I have been developing and I have been using my lived experience. I have been using the experience of seeing others to really look at how we can bring all of this together and create courses that are meaningful, that do change lives, that sell, that's importantly, but people are tired of that noise, of that pressure. And I do believe that we need to change the way, and shift the way. We need to tell stories. We need to make our audience feel safe, that they can trust us. And we need to bring all of that into our courses and the way that we are selling. The old way, that kind of bro marketing way, that making people feel guilty, that saying this is dead way, I don't believe that that's the future. That's just my personal take on it. I'm sure some people will do it and will be very successful. But personally, that's the way, because I'm aware of the irony of the fact that I'm talking about this sort of thing. So a lot of the way I see it, and I know that I am comparing to others, and those things will probably still work for some people, but this is the way I see it anyway. And this is where I really do believe that if the future is being more mission led, is more about value, is more about creating that connection to your audience, to your message, and to what you're offering. And the way that I'm developing what I offer and how I can help you to develop your step by step is we really do put your audience and you and the person at the heart of what we're doing. Instead of starting from a real technical point of view, we start with that journey, with that experience that you want to create, with why you're doing things. And when you come from that point of view, then sales will naturally follow, because your messaging follows, because your offers really do connect. And I do love feel good funnels, but feel good funnels that I've developed them are about creating that journey, creating that experience, having that core framework of what you're doing that you can hang your hat on. And as a multi-passionate, I have really struggled to go, actually, this is the way that we need to do it. We need to get clearer. We need to solve problems, but I can offer a lot of things. And I have had to get over my own head in some of this. And that's one of the things that I now want to be helping you guys with, is to develop that core framework, develop that customer journey, but still be able to have that freedom and flexibility to use that to facilitate, to experiment, to make sales, and also to see what works and what doesn't, and evolve things and improve them rather than going back to nothing and having to reinvent yourself all the time. So what really does build sales momentum nowadays, as I've just said, being known for one clear thing. Now, you can have more than one thing, because I'm not a person who goes, don't do this, don't do that. But what I'm talking about is having that core framework, that core thing that you can hang your hat on, and that then other things can peel off from, but always comes back to that, because there's a lot of things that we can do. Yes, there are successful entrepreneurs out there who have more than one string to their bow, and they build that, but you'll probably still see that they have a core thing that they will come from to then peel off from. As you watch them, you will see that, and it might be about what they offer and the structure. It might be about who they help and how that develops. But they do have a clear thing that they are known for as an expert, and that really does make a difference. And like I say, that doesn't mean that you don't do the other stuff. I'm waffling on here and I'm doing a short video. So letting people feel who you are, not just see you, not just turn up, really connect with you, tell stories. I have been really watching TikTok, which is one of the things that's quite a big thing nowadays. And the things that do really well is about stories, is about connecting to that person. Definitely about having consistent presence. And when consistent presence, I mean being visible, showing up, not like having those big pushes. And this is one of my biggest challenges, is just to show up on that drip feed. That really does help. And it is about building those relationships, having those stepping stones. So what do I see as courses in 2026? It's not about content anymore. Courses sell when they do sit inside about connection, include guidance, so that actually you support their implementation. And I've got other videos that I'm going to go into more detail around actually what this looks like. This doesn't mean that you, personally, I see it is slightly the end of completely passive courses, because you ultimately want to support your people to sell, and not to sell, to complete, to do the course, to make the most of the course, to get that transformation out of it. But there are ways to support them that I believe we need to bring into courses that then become a great sales point to create that connection, to support them to implement. And this is where I really see things going, and what I will be doing within my signature sparkle that I'm about to bring out. It's within, as I launch launched some of my my courses that's going to be featuring a lot more in those. And it also needs to feel like a journey, not just something where you are switching off. Yes, we want that passive income, but ultimately, actually, we want to make the sales, and we can do that in a really clever way. So what I'd really like for you to do is to reflect and think about, where are you building connections? Where are you relying on tactics alone? And what would selling feel like if it was a conversation, not a performance? So sit down and reflect on that and do some journaling. So this week, we're building sales from connection, not pressure. And today is about reconnecting with your people, not pitching. So just to summarize, what your quick task is: where am I building connection? Where am I relying on tactics alone? And what would selling feel like if it was a conversation, not a performance? I look forward to seeing you in the group, and please do ask me anything and put your key takeaways, put a post in the community saying what you've done and what your key takeaways are from this video. Have a fantastic day.